Welcome. So I'll be talking about JHipster today and how to build Spring Boot Angular apps with JHipster. Sorry, I'm a little tensed because of this thing. So, and I apologize for the heavy Indian accent, if you notice. I can't do anything about that. Sorry. My name is Deepu KS Sasidharan. I'm the co-lead of the JHipster project. I work for a company called Zebia Labs. We came up with this cool periodic table for DevOps thing, marketing stuff. You could check it out, it's cool. It has a lot of things put together in one place. We build DevOps products. We have a release orchestration tool and a deployment automation tool. Unfortunately, these are not open source. These are for the enterprise. So if you are in an enterprise, you might want to check it out. So let's get to business. So JHipster. I'm not sure if you have heard of JHipster. We have a great JHipster guy in the room as well, Matt. I'm going to try to be a hipster like Matt. I even bought the bow tie, so I'm going to try to put it on. So don't know how it works. It might look silly, but I'm going to try anyway. I don't care. It doesn't go. Yeah, and yeah, I even got a fake glasses, but I couldn't get the blue one, but I got a black and red one. Yeah, do I look silly enough? Yeah. Sorry, I couldn't pull it off as how Matt does. He does it great. But I still want to try. I want to look like this for the rest of this session. Yeah. At least that will keep you entertained. So what is JHipster? So JHipster is a development platform where you can generate, develop, and deploy Spring Boot and Angular web applications, as well as microservices, complex microservices for that matter. So underneath, it's a Yeoman generator at its core, but we also have a lot more than just a Yeoman generator to offer. That's why we call it a development platform. So to put it in short, like how the founder of JHipster, Julian Dubois, how he says, so Spring basically gives you the ingredients. So if web development is making a burger, then Spring gives you all the ingredients. Spring Boot goes a step further. It gives you a burger, a nice burger. JHipster goes even further. So we give this burger with the sides and a beer. And probably once you're drunk, we also take you home. So some stats. We have a lot of contributors, stars, and downloads. We have over 500,000 downloads so far. Pretty good app generations per month, and there are a lot of companies using JHipster, some of the big names there. And we also have contribution from Google, Red Hat, Heroku, Hazelcast, and so on. On client side, we do support HTML, CSS3, Bootstrap, Angular4 and Angular4. Is it 5 yet? No, right? Yeah, Angular4. So, and jQuery. We have WebSockets. We support Yarn, NPM. We have Webpack. We have the old school Bower and Gulp stuff. We have SAS support. We have browser sync. We have Karma. We have Protractor. So we pretty much cover most of that part. And on the server side, it's even crazier. So we have the entire Spring Boot stack, Spring Data, all those stuff. We have Spring Security. We have Zul and Eureka from Netflix. We have console support for backend build. We have Gradle or Maven as an option. For database side, we have Hibernate. We have Liquibase support. And databases, we pretty much cover all of them. MySQL, MariaDB, Postgres, Oracle, MS SQL, Mongo, Cassandra. How many of you have heard of Maria, Cassandra? Yes. So MariaDB is a version of MySQL. I hear that they are better than MySQL. So for caching, we support EHCache, Hazelcast. We also have Elasticsearch support. We added Kafka support recently. Then we have Sagar, ELK stack for monitoring, Prometheus, Timeleaf, Gatling. I didn't have enough space to put more here, so I limited there. We have a lot more as well. So yeah, does this look silly? I'm going to take it off because it's not clear enough for me to see. So yeah, for deployment, we have Docker support, Kubernetes, Heroku, Cloud Foundry, AWS, Rancher, and we recently added OpenShift. So it's quite a lot. So yeah, a lot of marketing bullshit. So let's get to business. So let's get on with building something with JHipster. So I'm going to make a new directory called Spring.io. So I'll be running Yo JHipster, and we are releasing a CLI in our next version. So, sorry? Ah, okay. Is it big enough? Okay. So I'll be calling Yo JHipster, which fires up the Yeoman generator. So it's going to ask you a bunch of questions. So it's going to start with what kind of application do you want to generate. So for this demo, we are going to go with a monolithic. We also support microservices, gateways, and stuff that you saw there. So name of your application, I'm going to go with Spring.io. No here. We have some modules in our marketplace, additional plugins. So I'm going to go with the default suggested, which is Spring.io store. I don't want any registry for this. I'm going to go with JWT authentication, which is kind of hip. I'm going to go with a SQL database. We could also choose Mongo or Cassandra if you wanted. So I'm going to go with MySQL. And for development, for the sake of simplicity, I'm going to go with H2 with disk-based persistence, which is really useful when you're developing. You don't want to fire up your actual database. You can do all the stuff with an in-memory and then switch to production, it just works. With Hibernate and Liquibase, it just works. So EHCache for clustering, or we could go with Hazelcast if you want distributed caching. I'm going to go with Gradle for build, which is more hip. I'm going to do social login, search engine, and yeah, why not? WebSockets. So for the client side, we have options to choose between AngularJS 1 or Angular4. So I'm going to go with Angular4. That was this demo is all about. SaaS, yes, I want SaaS because I want to be hip. Internationalization support, we also have that. So yes. And what languages? English as the base. What else do you want? What? Italian. Okay, we can have Italian. What else do you want? Dutch, yes, we can have Dutch. Where is Dutch? Where is Dutch? Yes, here is Dutch. What else do you want? I can keep asking. We have some 25 to 30 languages. So as long as I can cover all of you, I think I can keep asking. So maybe for the sake of simplicity, we'll just select one more. Go on. Okay, sorry if I offended any other language speakers here. So for testing, yes, we can have gate-link tests for performance. We can have Cucumber. We can have Protractor. So I'll go with Protractor for now. That's it. What do we have? So we generated an app. You can see that it generated a bunch of files, a lot of them actually, a lot of files. And now it's going to download the internet because we do a npm or yarn install. So while that happens, let's see what we generated. So I'm going to fire up my idea. Hope the network is not too slow and make this take ages. Normally it takes 1 or 2 minutes in my home network. So you can see it generated a full-fledged web app. You can see all that configuration stuff here. You can see your Gradle build. You can see your TS config for TypeScript. You can see the TS-lint configuration. You can even see your Angular CLI configuration if you want to use Angular CLI on top of this, which is supported as well. You can see your package JSON, everything on the root. Then you can see a bunch of Webpack stuff. Webpack common configuration, dev configuration, prod configuration. So these are not half-baked skeletons. These are full configurations. If you open one of them, you can see that. These are full working code there. It's not a skeleton. And source, you can see there is test generated, Java test, there is JavaScript test generated, your end-to-end protractor test, there is Karma test by default, and I didn't select Gatling, else I could have showed you that as well. You have your Java code here, your REST endpoints generated, your service layer, security configurations, your repository layer, domain classes, and so on. You even have all Docker configurations generated out of the box. So you chose MySQL, so it generated a MySQL Docker configuration for you. You chose Elasticsearch, so there is an Elasticsearch option. There is Sonar option, and based on the configuration you choose, it will generate appropriate Docker configuration. Then on the resources, all the resource configuration YML files, Liquibase changelog files. I'm not going to go into details of each because this session is not sufficient for that. We did a 3-hour session once. That was not sufficient for it, so I'm not going to go into detail of everything. Then we have the web app. You can see you have all the Angular stuff here, TypeScript files, HTML files, and everything. So let's see if we finished. Yes, this part is done. So as good developers, we want to have great workflows. So a great workflow would be to have live reloading everywhere, right? On your back end, on your front end. So let's see, let's run our app. Let's go into our main class. Since it's a Spring Boot app, we can pretty much just run this file. Oh shit, I have this. I'm forcing myself to use this shortcuts because I'm not good with using shortcuts. So I disable that. So it's compiling. It's starting up. While it is starting up, let's be good developers and do the front end stuff. So you have yarn start, which fires up the front end tooling part. So it fires up server, Webpack dev server for the front end, so you can have auto reload. It has browser sync, so you have all the browser sync niceties there as well. It will reload all your files real time, all that good stuff. There it is. You have the app. And did our backend start? Yes, it started as well. So let's see. So we have a login. So the default, we have 2 users, user and admin. Let's see what our admin gives. You can see that it generated the social login stuff. So once you put in your social login keys, you can start using Google's Google, Facebook, or Twitter as authentication as well, on top of the normal authentication mechanism. So once you log in, you see standard home screen. You can see that there are no entities yet because we haven't generated any entities yet. This is the base app that is being generated. You see that out of the box, you get a lot of administration stuff. You get a user management screen with some of pre-configured users. You can add more users. You can maintain them here. So that is out of the box. You have a user tracker out of the box because we chose the we chose the damn it, I forgot that. Yeah. Thank you. I'm a bit tensed from that thing. So we have a user tracker implementation here that is like a sample for you to build on. We also have metrics, which is based on Spring Actuator. So it gives real-time metrics for your app. You can see all your API endpoint stats. You see your cache statistics, database statistics. You can even view all your threads and advanced fancy stuff. You also have health monitoring out of the box. So based on your options selected, you will see up, down status of those. You also have a configuration screen where you can basically see all the configuration that is being used by the app. Spring Boot configuration, your JVM configuration, it's insane amount of information there. And your passwords are hashed, so don't worry about those stuff, but you have pretty much everything here. So you don't have to go in and look through your configuration files anymore. You can do it from the UI. You even have a basic user authentication here out of the box. Log management with logback out of the box. And that is real time. You can change your log levels real time. I can set my root logging to trace at real time, or change back to on, because I don't want trace at root level. Then we have Sagar, where you get API documentation for all your APIs. What more do you want? So you see all this basic Sagar stuff. You can try it out editor, all those things. This is all out of the box with just your JHipster. Even have a database thing if you have H2 enabled. That only works for H2, so don't expect too much there. And we chose I18N. So let's see how our Italian looks. Is it good Italian? I don't know, because I don't know Italian. I hope it is good. So have all that stuff pretty much covered. And the user management part. We have user configuration. Sorry, I don't understand this. I'm going to switch back to English. So password management, sign out. Once you sign out, you even have a registration screen. So if you want to do that kind of stuff. So that's what is generated out of the box. Now let's do some business stuff. So this is not enough to be an application. This is just some monitoring stuff and stuff. So you need to have more, right? You need to have your business entities, you need to have your business logic, those kind of stuff. So let's switch back. Okay, so we have something called JDL. It's our own domain language, which is kind of like it's a TypeScript inspired kind of language, because you see the string annotations, the type declarations and stuff there. And it is also a bit more Java-ish as well. So we are trying to kind of get a balance there for front-end and back-end developers. But you can pretty much define your entity configurations here. So you have entity definitions here. And it might look a bit JPA-ish, but not JPA exactly. And a bit UML-ish there. So you have your entity configurations, then you can kind of define your relationships between your entities, and it even shows you a nice visualization of your data model. So once you define this, you can even have some page options set up here. You can say what kind of paginations you want for your entities. You can say if your entity needs to have service classes or service implementations, stuff like that. So once you have this, you can download this into so download it into your app, and then you go back to your terminal and split this down. Then you say, so we have something called subgenerators. So this is what Yeoman provides. You can have generators, and then subgenerators are like commands and subcommands. So you say, sorry, I'm not going to generate an entity, I'm going to generate all my entities. So it's import JDL, and then you specify what is your JDL file, whatever it is named. So here we have followed the default naming. So fire it up, and it's going to again ask you if you want to overwrite some stuff, if there are conflicts. So you are going to overwrite an existing file. So you can safely say yes. I'm going to say yes to all, and it again generated a bunch of files. And you can see that this is reloading, and I need to just compile this down so that it reloads as well. Spring Boot does a very nice job of reloading your backend with the Spring Boot dev tools, which is excellent for development. So you don't have to restart anything at all. You can keep developing while your servers are running. So you can pretty much do crazy stuff which was not possible once upon a time with our normal class loaders and stuff. So let's go back to our app and see what has been generated. So let's sign in again. And you see that you got a bunch of entities now. So you have a brand entity, you have a product, because in our model, we had a brand, we had a product, we had category, and some enums for those, and we had a subcategory, and our brand was associated to the user. So if you look at what is generated, oops. Oh, how did it went back here? I have no idea. Okay, wait a minute. Yeah, sorry. So yeah, we have our brand, we have our product, our category, and subcategory. So let's start creating some stuff. So let's create a category. So this is the Spring IO store. So let's say t-shirts, and it's available. Let's create one more. Now let's create a subcategory. Oops. So let's say awesome t-shirts. So you can see how the linking is automatically generated for the relationship. And now let's create a brand for us. Today, and since we had a relationship to user, it generated a user relationship dropdown. So you can select, oops. Something went wrong there. Okay. I did a mistake. I'm on a master branch, and I fixed the issue in my master branch. But since we are using not modules, so once you install something, then it starts using your local version of that, which is in your local folder. So you have to do a yarn link if you don't have to do that. So in release software, once you install with normal npm, that's okay. But since I'm working on a development version, so that kind of causes this. So I'm going to quickly fix this. Sorry about that. So I'm going to just quickly say yarn link, generate a JHipster here. So it refers back to the global one instead of the locally installed not module. And I'm just going to rerun my last command. So it regenerates that part, which fixes the issue. So you can see that it is regenerating some of this stuff. I'm going to say yes, all. So sorry about that. It was a mistake I noticed when I was preparing for the demo, so I fixed it. It was from a recent change we introduced. Okay, so it's compiled. I'm not sure if this reloaded, so I'm going to reload it anyway. Now you can see the users. So that was my awesome brand. Nice, it's still there. That's something else. Select a date. And let's say this is for admin. And let's create one for user. this is for user. So this is done. But you see a problem here. We logged in as admin, but we still see admin and user stuff. So that is not good for security. This stuff is not handled out of the box. You have to do it yourself. So you have the generated app. So it's very easy to go and tweak. So what you do? So you see what you're working on. You're working on brands. So you have a brand resource which serves your API endpoints, and your API endpoint calls your let me scroll down, get all brands. So it calls brand service. So you go into your brand service and you tweak it here. So if you look for the find all method, you can see that it is returning everything. So there is no security being taken into consideration there. So what you can do is you get this. And where do you get this from? From the repository that is being generated. Since you have a user relationship to brand, we know that this is one of the things that you would want to do. This is most common. So we already generated another query which fetches only stuff based on the user you have logged in with. And it uses the Spring Data Magic to do that. So this is a Spring Data repository, so you don't have to do any implementation for this. You only write an interface and Spring Data generates an implementation for you, which is like awesome, just like Spring Magic. So you changed your brand service to, did I change it? Yes. And you compile it, it reloads, reload faster, reload faster. This doesn't reload the front end because we didn't do any front end changes, so the Webpack doesn't know that there is anything there. Now that's fixed. So tweaking is easy, extremely easy. You can even add your own custom queries with Spring Data, which is very straightforward. You write your queries as a method following the Spring Data convention, and that's extremely straightforward. So now let's go and create some products. So I'm bad with spellings and typing mostly. Even so, based on the configuration of the entity. So if you look at the entity, product is product, yeah. So product had these attributes. So there was an image which is a blob. So there is an appropriate image selector and file uploader stuff generated for you. So based on the configuration, the fields are generated appropriately with validation and all those stuff. So if you see that there is no validation here, but you can do validations like required validation or max length, min length, max bytes. All the basic validations can be enabled. I haven't done any of that here, so the front end didn't generate any validation code there. But if you go back and look at the brand entity, you would see that the required validation has been implemented there. So I'll show you that. Let's say this is $10 or something like that. Size, it's available until the end of the month. So this is T-shirt for women, the subcategory, because we had a relation to the subcategory and there is a relationship to the brand. So we select a brand and voila. So we have created our product. So let me quickly show you what I talked about the validation. So you can see that it is in red, and once you start typing, it changes to green. And if you don't have anything, then it says that field is required. So the validation part is also generated for you, which is pretty convenient. So now let's go back to our product. So we have a product listing, but it's not an ideal product listing. So let's say if we want to change a product listing, so we would find our Angular code. So let's find our product entity. So we go into entities where all the entities code will be generated by default. We find a product, and you can see there is a bunch of code generated. For the product, you have product component, it's a TypeScript file, models, then you have delete dialogs, detail screens. So the detail screen looks like this. So you have a edit screen, and you can delete it as well. So now we want to change the listing screen. So we go into the product component, and you can see that there is a table there with sort and all those things set up. You can also see that there is a Elasticsearch filtering set up there. Now let's say we change this to something more beautiful or pretty. Let's remove this, and I have it copied somewhere here. Not that. Wrong one. This thing. Yes. So I have already changed it a bit. I had that there. So let it reload, and voila. So changing is pretty easy. So once you generate an app, it's pretty much your own code. So start treating it as whatever code you would have normally written on your own. So the only difference is you get a lot of stuff which is like written by like 300 plus people, validated by a lot of people, tested for a long time. So I personally believe that collective wisdom is much better than wisdom of an individual. So in either case, it's a great place to start learning stuff. You generate, you see how things are done. You can try to reproduce that. That's how you learn. So that's pretty much the app we generated. So if you go back into the slides, so I have some instructions there. So basically, to start using JHipster, you would have to install it. It's an npm package. So you would do npm install. It has to be global. So you would do an npm install -g generator JHipster, or you can do a yarn global add generator JHipster. Some of the dependencies are you need Java 8. We don't support Java 7 or anything like that. So Java 8, you need Git. You need Node.js, of course, because it's an npm module. You need to have yarn or npm installed, which is basic. And you need to have yeoman installed, which is like npm install -g yo, right? So that is basic requirement. So once you install this, you can start doing yo JHipster. And from our next version, we are introducing a CLI, so you can start doing JHipster and like stuff instead of doing yo JHipster stuff. So it's a bit more prettier, 2, 3 spaces less. So typing. So we generated the app. So then you do entity creations. We have a nice web app for the JDL Studio, the one which I just used. So it's under our documentation site. So you can go to jhipster.github.io/JDL Studio. You can start modeling here. You can import, export, share, all those stuff. So now let's go to production. So we have created an app. We did some developing, we did some customization, everything works, but it is still in development, and you can see that big development logo there on the left-hand side corner, top corner. Let's go to production. So let me switch back, and I'm going to kill my yarn start, and I'm going to kill my app, development app running here. It's not required, but just to be safe. So let's clear. So again, yo JHipster magic. Let's deploy it into Heroku, because I only have a free account for now there. Or I used up all my other accounts. So you start typing yo JHipster Heroku. If you want to deploy to Cloud Foundry, you do your JHipster Cloud Foundry. OpenShift, you get the idea. Kubernetes, Docker Compose, so on. So the name, yes, as it is. I found the US ones to be more faster. I don't know why. Maybe my network was bad, but I'm going to go with the US for now. It will start up a bunch of stuff depending on the network bandwidth here. It might take a little while or less time. So it's going to provision your add-ons. It's going to do some customizations, which is very safe. So I'm going to say yes. Add some Gradle configuration there. So it will just add a Gradle plugin so that it can, build and deploy your stuff. So you can see that it is building your application. So it will build the application for production. As you can see, when we generated the application, there was 2 profiles. So if you go look into your resources, you see that you have application prod config and application dev config. And now you see that Heroku, the subgenerator generated a Heroku configuration as well, and a Heroku Bootstrap file as well for you. So and a proc file and all those stuff. Still building. So when it builds for production, it's going to run all the yarn stuff so that you have a a containerized kind of build where everything is reproducible. So your yarn, so it installs a local node and local yarn version so that whenever you do a production build, it is reproducible. Then it builds all your front end stuff. Then it does production packaging for your backend, and it creates a fat jar or fat var because it is Spring Boot app. So it does fat jars. It is running TS compile stuff. It is running Webpack production build. It's going to take a few minutes at least. The build normally takes around 2 to 3 minutes, I guess, the production build.
5 minutes on my machine.
Okay, I have a 32 gig Ion, Xeon, sorry, so it was a bit faster. Yeah, but then the Heroku upload might take a while. I don't know how much normally it takes for you, Heroku uploads.
It's usually 30 seconds, but then you have to, well, I guess it deploys the jar. So
Yeah, for me it took around a few minutes to upload and deploy, even from a fast network, I don't know. That's why like the EU one took even longer. I tried the US one, which was like 1 minute less, so yeah. So I have 5 minutes more. I hope this, so I'm going to just rush through the slides in the meantime to bore you guys a bit more. This is our documentation website. I don't remember opening it up, but it's still there. So let the deployment happen. So let's see how much we saved in terms of time. So doing this with a rockstar team, traditional way, it's going to take at least 4 hours. This is the most optimistic estimation. Practically, it will definitely take more than this. So Bootstrap 4 hours, single page application with Angular and all this stuff 2 days, security a day, social login 4 hours, distributed cache 1 day, search 1 day, fast builds 2 days, production optimization 2 days. I'll be very happy if you can do production optimizations in 2 days. SQLDB with versioning 2 days, automated tests 1 day, performance test 1 day, metrics 4 hours, user management 4 hours, audit log, blah, blah, blah. You get the idea. So add it up, it comes around 17 days. Then you also have Sagar, browser sync, profiles, WebSocket, entities. So the user tracker was with WebSocket. So that is the word I forgot, WebSocket. Shit, I forgot WebSocket. Entities, business logic. So that's like 21 days or 4 weeks without velocity, and any developer would know that this is not practically possible. This is very optimistic. Practically, it's going to take even more if you're doing this from from scratch. So that's like a lot of time saved for you. Like I kind of calculated 160 hours. You can play 160 hours of games. 83 cups of coffee would have been saved. 20 more days on vacation. That's my estimate. Yes, so we have a lot of subgenerators. I only showed you import JDL because for the limited time. We also have an entity subgenerators where you can hand code each of your entities one by one. It basically asks you a bunch of questions: what fields you want, what kind of relationships you want. Do you want map struct for DTO? Do you want search enabled, pagination, all those stuff. So you can do that manually if you like, or you can use JDL, which is simpler and faster. Then you have import and export JDL. You have a language subgenerator if you want to install even more languages after the first generation. Then you have a CI/CD generator to generate your Jenkins pipeline or a GitLab pipeline. Yes, we even do that. So when I said we even take you home once you're drunk, I meant it. So you have an upgrade subgenerator to upgrade your application to the latest generator once we release new versions. You even have client and server subgenerators if you want to split your client and server into separate apps and stuff. Service to create a Spring service. Then we have for deployment, we have Docker Compose, which generates complete Docker Compose configuration for you. Then there is Rancher Compose, Kubernetes for complete Kubernetes stuff, AWS, Cloud Foundry, Heroku, and OpenShift. Yes, we cover all. And the first three, predominantly useful when you're doing microservices. It does for the entire architecture you created, not just for one app, for your entire architecture. I'm stressing on that. And if you want even more, then we have modules. It's like a plugin system for JHipster where you can extend additional functionality without touching the core generator. So there are a lot of additional stuff there, like the storm path integration. You have entity auditing, additional themes and stuff like that. You can check that out in modules marketplace. And so for that, I have a workshop tomorrow. I don't have enough time for that now. So a workshop tomorrow is entirely for microservices alone. So I'll be doing microservices basically. Room 2, track 4, if you're interested, 2:30. And a roadmap, 2 more minutes. Let me see. So we have a CLI coming up. We are doing React support is on the way. The work is under progress in a separate generator. So once that is done, we are planning to integrate it. Spring 5, Spring Boot 2, that's on the card. Extensible architecture, we have like other stuff as it comes up. Thank you, and let's see if our build completed. Yes. Heroku open Sesame, whatever it is called. What was that? I forgot. That's slow. Yes, your production app deployed in admin. Oh, ta-da. And you didn't do anything for that. It's all out of the box. Where was I? I'm going to cover the last minute and make use of it. Technically, I lost 5 minutes because of this. So where is it? Damn, here. So for reference, the slide is up at this URL. I'll be committing the code generated to the GitHub repo under Deepu 105 Spring.io. Documentation site is at jhipster.github.io, and JDL Studio is at GitHub, jhipster.github.io/JDL Studio. Timeout, yes. Thank you. On time. Thank you.